welcome back here. I feel like it's my second home, Robinson.
That's right.
I haven't been here in a couple of months though. It feels weird. I'm out here with Coach Vossler, Robinson Rams football. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for coming.
Oh, like I said, man, this is home away from home for me. Let's go through it a little bit. Let's start with you. From Ohio?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how'd you get to Robinson?
So I was teaching and coaching outside of Cincinnati in a town called Hamilton, Ohio. Big Division I. In Ohio, the big divisions are lower numbers, so we're big Division I school. I was there for 2 years. We had some pretty good football players. My last year there, I think we had 7 Division I kids on our team. Girlfriend who was living in Boston, and we did that for 2 years, so we were trying to get in the same spot. And we kind of decided on looking in the DC area. We both got teaching jobs here, moved here. 6 years later now we're married and all that stuff, so it all has worked out well, and that's how I ended up here at Robinson.
It's usually how it happens, right?
Yeah. Crazy.
You made it. You landed in a good spot though.
Yes, I did, and it was it was tough moving here because you don't really know the schools at all. I was lucky enough, there was a guy who was a coach in Fairfax County who was from Ohio that I didn't have a relationship with, but I just emailed him asking him to help me out, and he kind of pointed me in the right direction. We had a new coach here at Robinson, Trey Taylor at the time, who was looking for staff, so I got on as an assistant. I got a teaching job here and been here ever since.
Trey Taylor's been all right himself, though.
Yes, he has. We were real happy for him last year. In the last couple years, they've been pretty good. He does a great job, and he's a good guy. He is.
Well, how different is high school football in Virginia compared to Ohio?
The players are very similar. Kids are kids. You don't see a whole lot of difference there. I think the importance in the community is maybe slightly in Ohio. It sometimes, my dad always says the tail wags the dog a little bit. It can be a little bit too much. I think it has its appropriate place here in Northern Virginia. So that's a little different, but the players talent-wise are very, very similar. We had a stretch there where we had some real good kids, and we were pretty good, but that's not commonly what you would have year in and year out at that school. So, I would say the best teams in Virginia are relatively comparable to the best teams in Ohio.
Okay. All right. Well, last year, you guys started off on fire. I think you scored 94 points. It was like 94-21 your first 2 games. And then you hit a gauntlet of a stretch. We talked a little bit about before we started here. But, I mean, Lake Braddock, Oakton, Stonebridge, Westfield, Broad Run, Centerville. Difficult schedule, to say the least. But take me through last year a little bit.
We won a couple. We never felt like all year that we were clicking on all cylinders. Even those first couple games, we had a couple breaks go our way that kind of, I think, made the score maybe worse than what the game actually was.
Right.
And then we hit some good teams and we were very untimely with our mistakes. We made crucial mistakes against good football teams at bad moments that we were unable to rally from. We had a fumble against Oakton that they returned for the touchdown at the beginning of the fourth quarter when we were driving to tie it. We had a penalty against Centerville in the end zone with 30 seconds left to tie the game. We had the onside kick against Westfield that we didn't field. So a lot of those games we felt like we had opportunities to win and just didn't cash them in.
Yeah. Well, you didn't correct your scheduling issue this year. You're starting off with Hilton. You guys get to play, because of the realignment of the regions and things like that, you're getting to play some teams. Prince William, they're getting to play some teams in Fairfax. Everybody's getting to play everybody. How do you feel about that adjustment to the region?
I think it's going to be neat, and I think it's fun for the kids. They like playing teams that have players that everybody's talking about. Hilton has some very talented individuals that we'll have our hands full. But I think it's a fun thing. As a coach, you'd like to play 10 games that you're going to win every year. But it's also fun to challenge yourself. I know when we had the opportunity to schedule a couple games, this is one of the teams that we sought out, not because we think that we are going to beat them, but because we thought that it would be a really cool event and fun for teams and players on both sides. So we're excited about it. We are worried about their ability. They have some people that are pretty good. And we're going to have our hands full, but it will be, I think, a pretty neat thing to see them come here and then us go there the following year. And
awesome.
You're going to see that, I think, around the region, that there's some games that probably haven't been played for 20, 25 years. So it should be pretty cool.
You lost some great seniors from last year's team. What's different about this year's team?
We lost some guys that played a lot of downs for us because we were a relatively young team when the graduating senior class were first sophomores. So some of them got on the field pretty early.
Yeah.
This year's team, we feel we got some great seniors. We feel like our junior class has got some good players in it that are just socially mature kids that have kind of stepped up along with our seniors to fill that leadership void. We feel like this team is unproven and that a lot of the guys that we're going to be counting on haven't played a lot in previous seasons, but they're talented. Mm-hmm. So if we can put that talent to use, match that with some experience that we have in the backfield, that we can be successful.
Mm-hmm. What is your game day preparation? Like do you have specific game day meals that you eat? Like, how do you prepare? You're obviously an athlete, so do you take that kind of thing into your coaching career?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like, we usually try, as soon as school's out, we usually try to go grab something to eat as a staff if we can. There's many of us that are, some of our guys got little guys they got to go pick up from school and stuff, but the ones that are able to stick around, we usually try to go somewhere. And if we win on that Friday, we usually go back to the same place until. But other than that, I'm not a real superstitious person. I make my play script and card the night before. We practice it on Thursdays. We try to get a good feel on the JV game for what we're going to be dealing with talent-wise, because there's usually a correlation between the JV and varsity teams. Yeah. Speed and strength and stuff like that. And then we just roll, and a lot of coaches say this, but I really think it's true in football. By that time, Thursday, Friday, a lot of the book has already been written.
Right.
There's usually not a lot of things that go on Fridays that are surprising.
Okay.
You're usually pretty well dialed into those. So, yeah, I'm not a big tie this shoe first. I just kind of roll out there and wear whatever clothes I have ready to go and see how we can play.
All right. Well, since you brought up the staff, what do you and the staff do? How do you all? Obviously players, they have camps, they have personal training, whatever it may be. But how do you and the staff get better in the off season?
We try to attend a couple clinics every year. One of the things that I did this past year that I wish I would have done earlier in my career, I made a list of here's all the things that we had issues with this past year, offensively, defensively, and special teams, and then I prioritized that list as, I think this is most important.
Right.
And then I went to my staff. How can we address each one of these points? Mm-hmm. And we'll meet. I don't like to take up a lot of their time in the off season. Coaching is a hobby. You can't really call it a job because it's not. You don't get paid enough to call it a job.
Right.
But we do a lot by email and text, and we just discuss, here's how we can address each one of these points and talked about them. And there's a couple things that we're doing differently this year just with how we practice that we discussed in those about, addressing those issues. Like one thing on offense, we used to always film practice from upstairs, but you can't get great angles on the offensive lineman's footwork and things like that. So one of the things we decided to do was we just take a 6-foot ladder out here to practice every day and put it 15 yards behind the offense, and we have somebody standing on top of that ladder filming from the end zone, getting the end zone view up close so we can see all our linemen's footwork and we can show it to the kids. It's a great teaching tool. But we couldn't do that from before. So things like that we try to do just so we can maximize the time that we have with them and make those reps the most meaningful.
Right. You guys, I talked to Coach Eldridge a couple of weeks ago about this on the show. Coaches, you guys don't get paid enough money. I'll say it, you don't have to. The coaches don't get paid enough money, and you work a lot of hours. It's all year round now. what do you do? Like, how do you get away? How do you break away? Is there like a certain vacation you like to get away? Like, how do you get some downtime in the year?
Yeah, my wife and I are both teachers, so spring break is always a good time for us if we want to do something. Like, there's, not a lot going on football-wise at that time. So that's, if we're going to go on a vacation, that's usually when we try to do it. Yeah. One thing that when I was an assistant, you didn't have a lot of the extra things that come along. So when I left practice, a lot of times when I got home, I was free.
Right.
When you become the head coach, that changes a little bit. There's constantly things that you get on a given night. I'll get 10 emails. Just various kids have this going on and they want to check in to make sure it's okay or whatever. So you're always working.
Right.
One of the things we started doing with my wife and I is every Wednesday night after I get home from practice, we always go out to dinner. Okay. And we have a couple couples that live near us that we go out with, kind of rotating basis. They join us, but that's like a night of the week that I don't answer emails. I don't think about football a whole lot, and I get to spend that time with my family and friends. And I think it's good for me to kind of get away, but I think it's really good for my family, just because if I don't do that, I think they'll go 4 or 5 months without me really being bought into anything. So it's a nice evening, and we really make it a priority to go and do that.
You opened last year with West Springfield. You're closing this year with West Springfield. Is this? What are you trying to book into your season? What are you trying to do with them?
Coach Eldridge is a good guy.
All right, I don't believe anything else you say after that.
No, he is. He's one of my favorites to see at every coaching thing we go to. Yeah. But no, I think moving into that new conference, for us, we're excited to play all those teams, and that the proximity I think is going to be really cool. Those were always when we played Woodson and West Springfield and Lake Braddock, those were our biggest crowds. Yeah. Now we're going to get to play Fairfax and South County. We'll all be here in this nice tight conference. I think it'll be pretty neat in all sports.
Yeah. It's your 4th season now?
This will be my 4th, yeah.
So obviously your first year, I'm sure you've learned a ton of things being a new head coach. What have you learned since then? Like, what have you learned in the time since then? What are the things that stand out to you?
I think you're always learning, and I know that's a cliche kind of thing to say, but I think every team is different. We've had teams where we really, really needed to push the physical or mental part, a certain aspect of the game that they were deficient at or weren't naturally poised to get better at. And we had, you got to push different buttons with different teams. And I think when you're young and inexperienced, you think, all I got to do is figure this out, and then I can just repeat it. Right. And you realize quickly that's not the case. And I think I fell into that trap. Year one, I was like, all right, we did this wrong. We're going to fix all those things in the preseason, and this is going to be, we're going to be smooth sailing. Well, you get into that season, and you're like, wow, this team does not respond like this team did to that certain. So you gotta adjust and adapt. And trying to figure out, I think the real good coaches that are successful for a long, long time, they have a knack of realizing what each team needs quickly. And I think if you can do that, you start getting better faster and more efficiently and longer than everybody else. And that's how you can get to week 10, and no matter what kids you have, you're still pretty good year in and year out because you know what buttons to push to get them there. Yeah. We're still working on that here. Not only am I young, our whole staff's pretty young. I think we got a couple guys in there like 36, 37, but that's like the oldest. And we've been together for a little while. Like earlier, we barely had guys in the 30s. Right. When I was 28 when I got the job, and you think you're ready. I think every young coach thinks they're ready right away. But there's some things that you're just going to learn the hard way, or you're going to learn on the job. And we had to go through that, and I think we'll continue to go through. Yeah. There'll be things that come up that I haven't had to deal with my first 4 years. And the 5th year, that happens. So you're always going to be in that situation. I think once you think you've got it figured out, that's when you probably start to slip a little bit. Yeah. When you realize that there's things out there that I'm not doing well, or that we're not doing well, and that we need to get better. If you can keep that mentality, that's how you can continue to be successful.
There you go. All right. Coach Vossler, Robinson Rams. August 25th, you might want to get a ticket and get here.
Get here. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
you.